Well, good afternoon, University of the Witwatersrand or Wits University. How are we doing? All right, it's good. It's an absolute blessing to be with you this afternoon. All protocol observed. I'm just going to, now mention, but I'll introduce him properly later. Thank you to the President of the DEISI International. It's always an honor to be able to share a platform with him. And as well to the King, the Bishop from the Meshoe. So thank you very much. And of course to everybody, all lovers of Israel, all lovers of the truth. I want to welcome you. Maybe let me just mention the fact that my name is Olga, and I represent an organization called DEISI International. DEISI International is a not-for-profit organization. So I have not been paid to be here. Neither then can I be said to be a puppet. Instead, I'm here as a young lady who remembers a time when she was on campus. And remembered campus being a place where you were to study, to learn, to gain knowledge, so that you would be equipped to be able to compete on the international world. Now, everybody may not agree with what I'm about to say today, but that's a beautiful thing about South Africa's democracy, because we can share a discourse of ideas and let's hear each other out there for a moment. So, Israel Apartheid Week is a week in which many countries, many organizations, and many individuals across the world are placing much effort in telling the world why Israel is an apartheid state. It is a week in which the boycott, divest, and sanctions movement spends extra resources to tell you and to tell me the only way that the Palestinian people can be free is for Israel, amongst other things, to be isolated. Now, while they have a lot to say, they talk a lot, right, the BDS, I'm more intrigued about the things that they are not telling us. Business economic students, did you know that the Palestinian Authority, with approximately 1 billion funds, $1 billion US in funds, is the most funded organization on earth? It is the richest organization on earth. Now, why then, we should ask, are the living conditions of the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank so poor? Where is the money going? Why isn't it being used for the people? Did you know that the 32 tunnels that were part of last year's Operation Protective Edge each cost $32 million? Now that's money that should have been used for the people of Palestine. My budding entrepreneurs, everybody that wants to be a business person out there, did you know that Israel is the startup capital of the world? Tel Aviv has the highest venture capital investments per capita. Now, we're better placed to be inspired, to learn innovation, how to establish a business, not only to thrive, but to impact the world than in Israel. To my students studying technology, I'm sure you know that the software for our laptops and the phone devices was developed in Israel, right? As well as social media platforms such as Google and Facebook. They were all birthed in Israel. But they aren't telling you to boycott your phones, your laptops, Facebook, even Instagram. Remember Instagram was recently bought by Facebook? Now, the reason why they're not telling us to boycott this is because they know that if you do that, you'll pretty much be out of touch with the entire world. Political science students, did you know that Israel is the only democratic state in the Middle East? That women play a prominent role in government and Israeli society? Did you know that non-Jews are parliamentary members, Supreme Court judges, IDF commanders? They're also Miss Israel winners and some of Israel's top professionals and doctors. Did you know that 20% of Israel's population is Arab? So this percentage makes Israel the country that has the highest number of Arabs in the entire world, and it itself is not Muslim. That means that there are more Arabs living in Israel than there are living here in South Africa. Now, I'm sure they haven't told you that Egypt's restrictions on the border between Israel and between Gaza and Egypt is more stringent than the restrictions that Israel itself has placed on its border with Gaza. And they haven't told you that because if they did, it would cause you to think about why is that the case? Surely there must be something else going on. International trade relations students, did you know that the BDS movement has cost thousands of Palestinians their livelihoods? It has cost them their jobs, it has cost them their health, that only a handful of Israelis have lost. More people in Palestine have suffered as a result of the BDS than Israelis. Now, did you also know that some Palestinians actually believe that the BDS movement is a secret weapon by the Jewish government to make sure that Palestinian lives are made more miserable? Now, you haven't heard the other side tell you that they have got solutions that are effective and efficient to help solve the poverty, the health, as well as the mortality problems that millions of Africans face each and every day. I haven't heard them. Did you know, agricultural science students, that drip technology that was pioneered in Israel saves water and fertilizer by allowing water to drip slowly to the roots of plants, and that Israeli agricultural technology has become the world's most valued innovation? It thus allows crops and food to be grown in areas where water supplies are otherwise limited in abundance or limited in respect to their use. Did you know, medical science students, that Prepix is a non-surgical, inexpensive, and safe male circumcision device that was developed in Israel? It has been approved by the World Health Organization and is being used in 16 priority countries in sub-Saharan Africa where HIV and AIDS is high. But, ladies and gentlemen, Prepix is not used in South Africa, in a country where year after year our boys die from botched circumcisions, in a country where the HIV/AIDS percentage is the highest in the world. Now, I want to know why they are not telling us about a solution that could save lives. Theology students, did you know that Christians are now only 1% of the population of Palestine, when in 1995, just before the West Bank was given across to Palestine, the Palestinian Authority, there were 10% of Christians? Did you know that Israel is the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population is growing? Now, I'm fairly certain that they aren't telling us these things, and also they aren't telling you that it is only in Israel that you can become a citizen of that country and still keep your own religious identity. You can't do that in other Middle Eastern countries. Human rights students, what they may not be telling you, and did you know that women in Palestine are not afforded many basic human rights, or that we would not be able to have a gathering like this in the West Bank because freedom of speech is suppressed? Did you know that Israel is a leader of gay rights issues and prohibits workplace discrimination all the way back since 1992? Did you know that Hamas has burned churches, executed Christians, and enforced restrictions on Christian population growth? Did you know that in 2006, there were approximately 3,000 Christians in Gaza? Ladies and gentlemen, in 2014, there were only 1,000 Christians in Gaza. Friends, what I want to know is why they are not telling us all of the facts. Do you remember the Bantu Education Act of 1953? The author of the Bantu Education Act, Dr. Hendrik Verwoerd, he said that the aim of this act was to prevent Africans from receiving an education that would allow them to aspire to hold positions that they otherwise would not be able to hold. He said instead, Africans are to receive an education that must only give them the skills to be of use to each other, or the skills that would enable them to be good workers under white people. In other words, black people were to receive an education that would leave them ignorant, stupid, and thus vulnerable to be manipulated, used, and abused by whomever knew more than them. Now, could it be that we are not being told all of the facts so that we remain ignorant as to what is truly going on? Are they wanting to ensure that we are unable to engage in proper debate and so have to resort to name-calling and hurling insults when we don't understand or disagree with a view that may be different to ours? Surely that is not the right to education that we today enjoy. That cannot be the right to equal education that was fought for and that blood was spilled for. Or perhaps the other side is wanting to discourage us from finding out the truth for ourselves so that we can be kept vulnerable to be provoked by the abusive use of the word apartheid, 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 such that we become blind to the facts or at least are not prepared to on our own interrogate whatever information is given to us. My brothers and sisters of South Africa, but in particular my South African brothers and sisters, let us not forget that not too long ago we were on the brink of a civil war. Not only would this war see white people rise up against black people, but it would also see black people rise up against black people. Wits University, when the world waited with anticipation for bloodshed, we surprised them by rising up above the easier route of violence and hurling insults, and we embraced the more difficult route of having to lay aside our differences and embrace that which unified us by going to the polls and standing side by side as we ushered in a new democracy. We gave peace the opportunity to exist. We gave peace wings. Yes, our democracy still has flaws, and many of our people do not enjoy the better life that they were promised. And they must still be given an opportunity of obtaining access to what our country has to offer. But friends, we have that democracy and we continue to work at it. Surely that is what we should be praying for our brothers and sisters in the Middle East. I have been to Israel 3 times. I have walked the streets of Jerusalem. I have driven on the banks of the Jordan River. I have visited each of the areas of A, B, and C in the West Bank. I have looked into the Gaza Strip. I have interacted with members of the Arab, Muslim, Bedouin, and Druze minority communities. And I can confidently say that what I saw was not a perfect Israel, but it was and it is an Israel that is not an apartheid state. And that is why Wits University, that is why DEISI International exists. We exist to tell you what they will not tell you. To the people of Palestine and those who are here to demonstrate their allegiance and sympathy with the Palestinian cause, DEISI International exists because we love the people of Palestine and we also wish to see them live in a place that they can call their home with their standard of life improved. It is because we love the Palestinian people that we are anti-Israel Apartheid Week, and we are anti the barrage of lies and propaganda that unfortunately not only characterize this week, but also have become the normal discourse on the topic of the Middle East conflict. To the Jewish diaspora across the world, the Jewish community in South Africa, and particularly Jewish students on various campuses across the country, DEISI International exists because we recognize that there is a targeted war against you. We recognize that there is an attempt to make sure that you as a people no longer exist. We exist because we want you to know that they are a people that say, come what may, we will defend, we will embrace, we will invest in, and we will stand by and support the people of Israel and the land of Israel. As I close, this evening is a Jewish holiday of Purim. It is a holiday in which the remembrance of the courage taken by Esther to save a nation when that nation was threatened by annihilation is remembered. For those not familiar with that story, Here's an overview. An irreversible decree was sent out in all the land of Persia that every single Jew was to be killed. When Esther learned that her people were to be destroyed, her initial response was, "Oh, sorry, there's nothing I can do." Taking action would mean risking her life, because the king had not called for her and she could not appear before him. It was against the law. But you see, Esther was then reminded by her uncle that she had been placed in the palace for such a time as this. She was in the palace not just because there was an opportunity, but there was an obligation on her to take a bold stand and to do what was ordinarily not done and save her nation. Dear friends, you have been placed at this great campus with the opportunity to further your studies to impact the world and this country for such a time as this. We have been given access to receive and disseminate information on a plethora of social media platforms to audiences and at a speed that our forefathers never thought imaginable for such a time as this. It is for such a time as this that South African brothers and sisters, particularly those brothers and sisters of my skin color, that we need to take back the painful memories and impact of what our forefathers suffered during apartheid and for which we still bear the scars. It is for such a time as this that we have to ensure that those who make a legacy of apartheid by their own countless lies and propaganda, that we tell them that we will not sit down and let apartheid be trivialized for their own selfish gain. It is for such a time as this that you, my Muslim brothers and sisters, need to stand up and call to account those who commit violence in the name of your religion. You need to challenge your leaders to speak up and to condemn the calls for those who want to wipe Israel and the Jews off the face of the earth. It is for such a time as this, my Christian brothers and sisters, that you need to speak up in defense of your brothers and sisters that are being massacred by the thousands in the Middle East. They are being massacred by the thousands in parts of Africa. It is time to stand up and let the world know that we will not be killed because of our faith. It is also for such a time as this that we must remember that we cannot separate ourselves from a people in whose history our faith is rooted. We cannot separate ourselves from the people that gave us the Bible. We cannot separate ourselves from the people whose God, the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob, the God of Isaac, is our God. It is for such a time as this that we exist, to boldly stand with Israel and the people of Israel, to remind them that they are not alone. Dear friends, I call on you and I call on me, people who truly wish to see lasting peace in the Middle East. I call on us and I say to us that we are alive at such a time as this, to let the world know, to let the BDS movement know that Israel has friends all over the world who have decided to stand up and be counted, and we have decided that we will be quiet no more. As Bishop Gabriel said a few days ago in Australia, Israel is the only democracy, and it is on the front line of the defense of Western civilization in the Middle East. The world needs Israel just as much as Israel needs the world. Chad Purim Sameach. May God bless Israel. May God bless all her people. May God bless all who love her and all who pray for her.